After waking up in my 7-figure mansion, I drive my Lamborghini into work. First, I stop at my local Starbucks because if there's one thing that every software engineer has in common, it's a raging caffeine addiction. But what do software engineers actually do? I've worked in technology for the better part of the last 9 years, working for some of the largest and oldest technology corporations to ever exist. Amazon, IBM, and AWS, to name a few. I'm going to show you the hard truths of everything I've experienced as a software engineer, the best job I've had, the worst job I've had, what a day in the life looks like, and at the very end, if you stick around, I will show you exactly how much money I have made in all of my jobs so far. Consider this the last video you will ever need to watch on software engineering.
I'm a software engineer. I recommend this career path to anyone.
Meta was offering me $550K. Netflix offered me $420K full cash.
We are going to have an AI that can effectively be a sort of mid-level engineer.
Why you shouldn't be a software engineer.
I would like you to share with me your screen immediately. Now.
Being a software engineer, it isn't all glitz and glamour.
Hi there, my name is Dylan. I'm a full-time software engineer, part-time content creator. We are halfway to 10,000 subscribers, so please consider helping me and my team out a ton by hitting that subscribe button down below. Back to the video. Software engineering is funny because it's one of the hardest jobs to actually get, but once you actually have a software engineering job, it's one of the most luxurious jobs in the entire world. Perks, playground rooms, free breakfast, remote office options, sports facilities near the companies. There are several ways to make software developers happy. The rationale is a return on investment. Happy developers are supposedly more productive and hopefully also retained. But is it the case that happy software engineers equal more productive software engineers? I'll tell you my answer in just a moment. What's your favorite thing about being a software engineer? Money, remote work, problem solving. The fact that I don't have to do physical labor anymore. I get to wake up and just go to my desk. Here's my hot take for this video, but I think that mental labor is way more painful than physical labor. Stay tuned for more hot takes. Being a software engineer is so mentally exhausting. I don't think people realize just how hard it is to recover from mental exhaustion in a field that rarely gives you a break from working at full mental capacity all day, every day. How does Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook treat their employees? Meta employees in New York didn't have to worry about food, transport, or laundry. There were shuttle buses waiting to take them home at the end of the day, a free dinner service with complimentary to-go boxes, and courtesy laundry pickup. You get treated like royalty. Google has notoriously had sleep pods on their campus, and at my work, we have catered meals, we've got a cafeteria, a gym, and for some reason, they even allow us to bring dogs into the office. But in March, as part of a cost-cutting exercise, the laundry service was taken away and the daily dinner service was pushed back half an hour after the last shuttle was scheduled to leave campus, meaning workers had to pick between a free meal and a free ride home. There was uproar. The good life of being a software engineer wasn't always this way for me, and in the next chapter, I will tell you about the worst job I have ever had by far. In my experience, and listen, like I love my current job right now, but the reasons I love my job have absolutely nothing to do with office perks. Although I will say that all of these office perks have gotten me to stay there longer. I enjoy my job in software engineering because A, I enjoy working on hard problems, and B, I love the people that I work with. And it's one of the real reasons I got into the field in the first place was so I could work on cool things with cool people. However, there is one tech company out there that everyone seems to hate from the inside and out. I used to work at Amazon, and let me tell you, it was one of the worst fucking experiences of my entire life. I hated that company, I hated their leadership principles, and I couldn't stand my manager. But why does everyone hate Amazon? During my time at Amazon, I was working on meaningless programs and also working from home. There were days I could hardly even muster the courage to walk from my bedroom into my office and open my laptop. My manager was constantly hanging and dangling in front of my head a little performance improvement plan if I didn't do what he said. Former Amazon engineer in Seattle, when I was there, average tenure length was a year. I lasted just under 4. My biggest regret was not taking the rest and vest approach when I was done. Corporate job at Amazon is the most soulless job I've ever had. In the next chapter, I will walk through step by step exactly what a day in the life looks like. What's even worse about Amazon is that they hire a huge number of H-1B workers and operate in a way that fosters significant discrimination. My team was overwhelmingly staffed with people that my manager had personally hired, and let's just say I was the only person who didn't share everyone else's background. The bigger issue is that H-1B visas result in this weird power dynamic where the corporation has a tremendous amount of power over their employees. If you lose your job, you have to leave the fucking country. Tech companies in particular rely heavily on foreign workers, primarily from India and China, to perform specialized roles in fields like engineering, biotechnology, and computer science, requiring work visas to hire them. In 2022, Amazon received approval for more than 2,500 H-1B visas, and Meta almost 1,300. As a US citizen, if I lose my job, I just have to go find another job. Yes, I've already done an entire video on the insane lunatics of LinkedIn, but I can at least keep living here. Maybe I'll be homeless, but that's not the case with H-1Bs. If you lose your current role, you're going to have to leave the country within 60 days.
60 days, that's the amount of time an immigrant worker on what's called an H-1B visa has to find another job or leave the country.
Yeah, that is by far the most vulnerable population in this entire equation.
Some employees have even had families while they have been here. So the parent will get kicked out of the country if they lose their job, while their kid, who is a US citizen because they were born here, will have to stay. So the stakes are tremendous. In sum, it creates a really toxic work environment for everyone. At Amazon, they rank you against your peers, so you are jumping on top of every other person there in effort to get ahead. Someone might be on H-1B, so they're absolutely busting their ass because there is a small chance they'll get kicked out of the country. It's a cutthroat and awful environment that I pray to God that I'll never have to be a part of again. Now I hear you. I understand what you're thinking. Dylan, what do you do now? I wake up around 8 a.m. every single day. Some days, if I'm feeling a little spicy, I'll wake up and go to the gym in the morning. I drop my dog off at daycare, and boom, I'm in the office around 9. I spend the bulk of my morning coding until around noon when everyone heads to lunch. Then I go to the cafeteria. That's how I spend my morning as a normal engineer. Engineering can be pretty frustrating at times. I saw a graph one time that almost perfectly described what fixing a bug in software is like. You go through basically the 5 stages of grief every single time you're working on a feature. You know, that's actually one of the really cool things about being a software engineer. It's 4 p.m. in the afternoon. I've just downed my last cup of coffee and I'm looking for anything to keep me going. I'm trying so hard to submit a PR before the end of the day, so I know I don't have to worry about this thing anymore. Another 2 hours go by, no progress. I finally decided to call it quits at 6:30 because I am starving. I log off for the day, fast forward 24 hours, and I open my laptop very first thing in the morning and I solved the same problem I had just spent 2.5 hours on in 5 minutes. It's like magic. Software engineering certainly isn't as glamorous as some movies like to make it seem. You really spend a lot of time behind a computer wondering why something isn't exactly working as you expect. Now, I even have an instance of Claude Code running at all times. I spend a decent bit of my time just telling the machine what to do to the machine. If you don't enjoy sitting in front of your computer for long periods of time, probably not the job for you. It's such a weird time we live in. The world is built on software, run on software, and cannot survive without software. This all sounds great. How do I get a job as a software engineer, you might say? Well, in the next chapter, we will talk about the interview process, and you are going to absolutely hate the answer. Software engineers really like to pretend that their job is so difficult and abstract, but at the end of the day, all you're doing is telling a computer exactly what to do. You're just writing instructions for a computer to follow. Hey, computer, if you see this, do that, okay? Okay, I will now restart for an update. Wait, computer, no! On the app Blind, an anonymous gossip app where the truth might be elastic, but industry trends often emerge, some tech workers say interviews feel practically impossible. One user wrote in early February that the bar for getting hired at one of the big tech firms is 2 LeetCode medium or hard tests within 40 minutes, and most of my friends failed, referring to an oft-used online programming platform.
I would like you to share with me your screen immediately. Now.
The interview process is one that everyone really loves to complain about. We do LeetCode in almost all of our interviews, and at the end of the day, if you ever want to work at one of these elite top-tier tech companies, you're going to have to go through the website that is leetcode.io. These are essentially math problems built into algorithms. They're usually founded upon you knowing a couple of fun algorithm tricks or having studied a metric ton. Step 1, sign up for LeetCode Premium. Step 2, send 6,000 applications for a developer job. Step 3, get one interview and get humiliated at it. Step 4, sell art on the beach. The common argument is you would never actually do any of these LeetCoding problems on the job, so why the f week would you screen for something that you'd never actually do? Here's the answer. Show me a software engineer who knows how to leak code, and I will show you a decent software engineer. There's a pretty moderate correlation between your ability to leak code and your ability to be a great engineer. It is by far the quickest way to screen someone quickly. It's not an easy field to get into. Many people give up while learning. The competition can also be fierce, especially for entry-level jobs. The high-paying jobs are very competitive, and this is especially true for remote jobs. That being said, if you can get in and work at the right company, it's a good field to be in. Good software engineers have access to those opportunities. Good work-life balance, high pays, cool locations, and remote work. The competition to enter into the entry-level roles in software engineering is insane. Pretty much every kid is told to become a software engineer. Tons of college students switch their degrees and paths to become software engineers, and tons of professionals are reskilling via certifications, boot camps, or even going back to get additional degrees. The amount of people spending their post-work hours studying data structures and algorithms is absolutely insane. 13 interviews to land my current role. I'm not sure if it's gotten worse recently or what, but everyone has pretty much decided to outsource their thinking to an AI. I have encountered a number of interviewees who are very obviously cheating. I fail them. I'm not trying to see how the AI would do the interview. I'm trying to see how you think, not how a large language model thinks. That's the whole point of these interviews, right? You're trying to understand and gauge if the candidate would do a good job on the team that you're currently in. We can assess AI skills later. Henry Kirk, a co-founder of the software development company Studio Init, wants to hire the best engineers, as everyone does. That's why he asked job applicants to not use generative AI in the first technical coding part of the interview, with the promise that they'd still be able to show off their combined engineering and AI skills in a later section. They still cheated, he said. Of course they did. It was so obvious. The coding tests took place in tandem with a video call, and some candidates frequently look off to the side. I see this all the time. It's almost like they're not even trying to hide the fact that they're cheating in the interview. They gave delayed answers or copied and pasted full blocks of code into the system instead of typing step by step.
Stop it right there. I need you to share your screen immediately.
Some refused to share their screens or spouted off-topic answers to verbal questions, leading Kirk to believe that they were reading large language model outputs verbatim without even thinking. It's a waste of time. That's why leak code exists. Yeah, it's lazy, but at the end of the day, when you have 300 applicants, how do you take those applicants and see who's actually qualified in a manageable way? You can't give every single one of them a personalized interview. I think this brings up an even greater point. In the age of AI, people are starting to give up their voice, and it's really sad to see. Candidates read interview answers from a prompter, and hell, even YouTubers are pretty obviously scripting their videos with AI. It makes everything sound just so similar. I've started the process of writing a book, and I promised myself not to use any AI in the writing portion of the book. I can, of course, use it for research, but I'm now just discovering my voice, how I like to frame things. I'm figuring out that I'm kind of an asshole in speech and in text. Let's talk about AI. If you say AI 3 times fast, Sam Altman appears. 3 in 4 coders have tried AI. The vast majority use it at least once a week. 17% of coders say they use AI at all times. The most anti-AI group, it's not the grizzled late career vets, it's mid-career coders. Nearly half of them identify as AI pessimists. As it was analyzing these results, ChatGPT offered an unprompted explanation. This group likely feels the greatest tension about AI's impact on job security. Upper management does not understand what AI is and thinks it will solve untold problems. Junior devs rely on it way too much without understanding their code first. We've seen it all over the tech industry, layoffs after layoffs, but somehow tech CEOs can't fully piece together that if you 1, stop hiring for junior employees, and 2, lay off your current junior employees.
This young woman recorded herself getting fired.
You have not met expectations for performance. We've decided to part ways with you.
You will eventually have a third thing: no senior employees. How do you think a senior software engineer becomes a senior software engineer? They first start out as a junior engineer in an entry-level job. I've been using AI for everything from boilerplate code to debugging documentation. It's like having a junior dev who never gets tired or asks for a raise. But here is the one thing that absolutely no one is talking about. METR Research conducted a randomized controlled study to understand how early AI tools were effective affecting the general productivity of experienced developers. Software engineers, same thing. Developers were given real issues such as bug fixes, features, and refactors that would be a part of normal work. The more experienced you are, the more you go beyond browser interfaces and apps. Nearly 1 in 3 veteran coders 20 years plus integrate AI tools directly into their coding environments. I do this right now. But what happened was not what they had expected. When developers are allowed to use AI tools, they take 19% longer to complete issues, a significant slowdown that goes against the developer beliefs and expert forecasts. This gap between perception and reality is striking. Even after experiencing the slowdown, they still believed AI had sped them up by 20%. AI is akin to using amphetamines to complete work. In a double-blind study of healthy young adults, research investigated 13 different cognitive domains and found that when Adderall, a prescription amphetamine, was administered, there was no significant improvement on mental cognition. Yet, like AI, participants believed their performance had improved when taking the drug compared to placebo. AI in this case actually seems to be worse than taking Adderall because it's actively slowing them down, not just making them feel better. How much is all of this costing corporations? In my very first job out of college, I was making 6 figures. Let me trace my income for you each year. In 2020, I had just started working at IBM. I was specifically working for the branch of IBM, now no longer owned by them, called Weather.com. They bought Weather.com for $2 billion and sold it for $1 billion a couple of years down the road. We used a bunch of different technologies, but I was essentially just working on a front-end UI team. My base salary was $98,000 that year, and for joining, I received a $15,000 signing bonus. Just a reminder that there's a lot of back-breaking jobs where you have to get up at 4 a.m. and work in extreme weather until 4 p.m. and you're making $40,000 a year. The following year, I'm working the same job. I hadn't received any promotions or pay raises. If anything, I actually got a pay cut due to no longer having that signing bonus. So the pay is a little less, but the same, about $98,000. But here is where things changed. In 2020, I was back on the job market. I had gotten kind of tired of working for the company I was working at, and I wanted something more. Don't get me wrong, IBM is a decent company to work for, but it's not exactly the elite part of the tech industry I had been striving towards. I got an offer from Amazon, and after a long, arduous process at Google, I got one from them as well. But here's the thing, they wanted me to move to Seattle, and I'll be honest, I've visited Seattle a couple of times, and it's nice, but it's not exactly for me. This would have been for the Google Domains team, who actually got sold off to Squarespace, the sponsor of this. No, I'm just kidding. We don't actually have any sponsors just yet. Back at my Amazon offer, the first year stock grant is an absolute joke. They have an insane vesting schedule of 5, 15, 40, 40, and if you don't know what vesting means, it essentially means that you have to stay at a company for a certain amount of time to vest or earn your stock grant. Amazon only allows you to vest 5%, 15%, and then 40% of that stock each of the last 2 years. So if you stay at Amazon for 2 years, you get effectively no stock. My total compensation included a base salary of $150,000, year 1 and year 2 signing bonuses, which came out to roughly $175,000. But unfortunately, that awesome payday didn't last for very long. This heroin rush was in the tech boom of 2022, shortly followed by the great tech crash of 2023. I was laid off from Amazon and then rehired to a different organization, Amazon Web Services. As a result of all of my hard labor, Amazon rehired me with a similar compensation package of roughly $185,000 in total compensation, only to, wait for it, lay me off again 6 months later. Today, the tech industry is even worse. Don't take it from me, take it from James O'Brien, who is a professor of computer science at UC Berkeley. I hate to say this, but a person starting their degree today may find themselves graduating 4 years from now into a world with very limited employment options. Add to that a growing number of people losing their employment, and it should be crystal clear that a serious problem is on the horizon. We should be doing something about it today. Today's climate is much different than what happened during the dot-com bubble. During the dot-com bubble, you saw people leaving the industry into other careers, which allowed the industry to stabilize. That's not happening today. CS students aren't leaving, more students are actually joining. Same goes for grads. They aren't giving up. They're still applying while working part-time jobs. It's only going to get worse, unfortunately. The point of this story is that the tech industry used to be a surefire way to earn a 6-figure income, but now things have changed dramatically over the past few years. As a hiring manager in my current role, I am looking for multiple years of software engineering experience. I'm looking for elite tech degrees, and I'm looking for someone to blow me away in the interview process. Truly gone are the days you could just go to a little coding boot camp for like 6 months and boom, now you're working at Google or Amazon or Netflix making $250,000 a year. I have found every job I've ever had on LinkedIn, and let me tell you, there are some absolute characters on that platform. Click the video on screen now to watch the insane lunatics of LinkedIn. And outside of that, I will see you in the next one.